So the plan today is to give you a small introduction to fleet communication, so how it is that groups of players actually collaborate on getting things done. So all the footage I'm going to show you today is from a series of stealth bombing operations I was on. And there's not actually going to be any combat, but it's a really cool glimpse into the language people use and what's happening on screen and how all of these different people work together to get something. So all you really need to know to start out watching these clips is that you're always going to see the people in my fleet as little purple squares, and they'll appear on and off throughout the video. Alright, so let's get started. So this clip is going to start out with the fleet commander coordinating with the scouts. These are the people who are traveling ahead of the fleet and behind the fleet, as well as keeping the fleet itself, the bulk of the stealth bombers, aware of what's going on. And so you're going to see the clip starting out with the bulk of the fleet arriving at a gate. You'll see all of the little purple squares zoom in and hit the gate at the same time.
Scout, when you get to UR-, can you let me know status in that? Horse.
So this moment when you're loading a new system is always a little bit scary because you don't exactly know what's going to be on the other side. It could be somebody who wants to shoot you. Most of the time you have scouts that are ahead of you, so you know that it's going to be not a problem, or else the fleet commander wouldn't have sent you through. And this is one of those cases. We're actually jumping into a friendly gate camp. But still, there's always a moment when things are loading that you're afraid things are going to go horribly wrong when all the ships pop up on your screen. So this big constellation is what we call a gate camp. First of all, we know it's friendly. There's lots of blue and green and purple in there, so it's all people that we like. So they're not going to shoot at us. And then the heart of this gate camp is those big bubbles. Those are bubbles we've seen before. They're warp interdiction bubbles. And what they do is they make it so you can't warp out of those bubbles. So if you're an enemy ship and you came through that gate like we just did, you would have to, what we call slow boat. You'd have to use your normal slow speed engines to get yourself outside the bubble and then warp away. And that can take a long time. That can take, I don't know, anywhere between 15 seconds to a minute, during which time all these people floating around the bubble would attack you and blow you up. So it's a really good way to blockade a system. And part of why they're all at different distances is that ships have an optimal range. They have a distance that they're really good at dealing damage at. For some ships that's really close to them, for some ships that's really far away. So we'd been bouncing around from system to system for most of the evening, and at this point the fleet commander gave us an emergency order to warp to a very specific target with our cloaks off, which is what a bombing run, the beginning of a bombing run looks like. So here's what happens when we land at the target.
Guys, I don't see any of you coming out of warp yet. What's going on? We're off-grid. We're approximately 700 kilometers off the O-Y gate. Off-grid. No? Right, that's fine, guys, that's fine. Right. Fosk, you failed. You failed. Right, that was just a test, just a quick bombing run, right guys? What would have happened then? You'd have all bombed, and Fosk would have probably come back and bombed you, because he didn't warp to planet 1 and warp to where I said. He warped straight from.
So the thing that makes flying stealth bombers different from flying normal ships is that you don't aim the weapons in the same way. So normal ships, you lock onto a target and you turn your guns on and they're going to hit the target. But with stealth bombers, when you hit the launch button, the bomb just shoots out the front of your ship and goes 20 kilometers and explodes. So it's really important that you be facing the right direction, which is actually really tricky in 3 dimensions. So when stealth bomber fleets move around, it's really important that they all come at the target from the same direction. So if they come from different directions, their bombs aren't going to all hit the target properly. So what Fosk screwed up is that he didn't come from planet 1. All of us had been hanging out around planet 1, ready for the order to bomb. And Fosk had made a mistake and gone to the gate instead. And so when he came in to bomb, he was coming from the wrong angle. So you can see there's a cluster of those purple ships in the middle, which is all the people who did the right thing. And then Fosk, who's that purple ship in the upper right-hand corner, he's a ways away. And so that turns out to be a really big problem.
Okay. So we'd have all just guys. Right. Let's stay frosty, guys. When we're doing that, what I would have done normally is that I've warped you squad at a time. I'm very happy that nobody warped to 0. That's the normal thing that people fuck up. They normally warp to 0. The two places that I'll be asking you to warp is 30 or 50.
One of the real challenges that alliances have is motivating their players to do kind of menial tasks in this larger important strategic context. So a lot of times fleet commanders will pause for a moment and try and explain to everybody why it's important that we're doing what we're doing. And this is one of those clips. So the fleet commander is trying to explain that we were going to set up this really elaborate attempt to harass an enemy dreadnought fleet that was attacking one of our space stations. And it turns out the whole thing didn't work out, but he's just trying to explain why we spent all this time waiting for something to happen. One of the confusing bits of lingo here is that being reinforced is bad. So the fleet commander talks about a pause being reinforced, and that means that the enemy fleet has mostly destroyed it and put it all offline, and we're going to have to go repair it later, or the whole thing is going to get destroyed.
Try have jumped in a 42-man dread fleet into system O-A6YN, which happens to be one of Moseley Harmless's jump bridge networks, and they've just reinforced one of our jump bridge posies. What we were trying to do was get a covert Sino ops into there, because we've got Black Ops with us, and then we were going to jump in and harass them, but I'm afraid it hasn't quite worked out. The posie's now reffed, we were too late.
I want to close this video with something that I just think is kind of beautiful. So what you're going to see is a group of our stealth bombers coming through a gate, and right after they come through the gate, they're going to appear in space. You'll see all the little purple dots appear, and then all of them are going to cloak up again. They're going to go invisible, which is one of their special abilities. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing to watch. It's really cool to come through as a group and see everybody appear and disappear and then warp off like we were never there. I don't know. It's sort of a weird experience. It's cool to be a part of that, and I think it's just kind of pretty. All right, here it is.
Welcome to JC. Every line with X47. Come on guys, get a line, cloak up.
All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.